Happy Thursday, guys. I hope you're having a great day. So for today's class, we're gonna finish our experiment that we started yesterday. So if you were working with this paper, go ahead and take that out. Or if you were working with a paper that you were writing in your answers, similar to what I was writing with yesterday, you should have something that looks like this. Or if you were able to do the experiment at home, then you should already be done. So make sure that you turn this in to me. But if you weren't able to do it at home by yourself and you're watching my video so that you can get your observations, then go ahead and continue watching this video because it will have all the observations you need to make. So what I want you guys to start with before you start watching my observations is I want to make sure you have this on your paper. So our observations, I started recording at 11 and I recorded till 3. So I have 11, 12, 1, 2, and 3 o'clock. And now I created this little T-chart because I was doing 2 observations for these times. One was my towel in the sun, and the other was my towel in the shaded area, or the cool area was my garage. If you're doing this on a normal sheet of paper because you were able to print it at home, then you're going to do that same exact thing right here. And then the last thing, when you're done watching my videos, we're gonna do our conclusion. So for our conclusion, make sure that you write that word at the bottom. Should look like that. And your sentence can be however you want to start it, but you need to make sure that you let me know which towel dried faster. And when you're done with that, guys, you are done for the day, and I will see you guys again on Wednesday.
Laid my towel out, and I'm making sure it's laid out so that it's not hanging and it's not losing water because it's hanging, but it's still very, very wet because I just put it out. So I'm gonna come back and check on it later.
All right, guys, and I have my garage towel, and again, it is very, very wet because I just set it out, and I will come back and check on it later.
All right, guys, it's a little loud because we have some work happening outside, but it's been an hour later, and if you notice, the sun shifted a little bit, so what I want to do is I'm going to move my towel over here so that I could get more sunlight, but first I'm going to touch it and see what I feel. So it doesn't feel as wet as before. So I can tell that it's a little bit drier. So in my observations, I'm gonna note that it's not as wet as it was when I first laid it down. But I'm gonna pick it up and move it to this corner over here so that it's a complete direct sunlight. And that is how this towel is. So my observations are that it's a little bit drier than it was before. All right, guys, and now I'm checking on my towel in the garage. Ooh, and this one's still pretty wet. You can also hear this one a little bit louder than you could hear the one outside. So this one is still pretty wet. And I'm gonna go ahead and write that down on my observation. So it's been an hour since the first one. The first one we set out at 11. It is now 12. All right, guys, it is now 1, so I'm coming out here to check on my towel. So it feels a little damp now. I can tell that it was wet, but not really because it's pretty damp. Kind of like when you go swimming and you've been sitting out for a while. You're not necessarily wet, but you can still feel that what you are wearing is a little damp. So yeah, there's no water on my fingers. Feels like most of that water is leaving this towel. All right, guys, so again, this is the update now for my towel in the garage. It is 1 o'clock, so it's my second check. And again, this one is still pretty wet. You can still hear the water. You can see it on my fingers. So this one is still pretty wet. I don't really see much changes other than the water's still there. All right, guys, it is 2 o'clock. I'm coming out to my sun towel, and it still feels just a little damp. Not too damp, but it still feels a little damp. Again, my fingers are not wet at all, but it feels a little damp. I'm getting a little bit of shade from this branch, so I'm gonna move my towel a little bit more to the side right there. So again, it's in direct sunlight, but it feels almost dry. It's hardly damp, but I could still feel some dampness. So I'm gonna leave it out a little bit longer. Again, it is 2. I am checking my towel yet again. Feels a little bit drier than it did before, but it's still pretty wet. I still have water on my fingers. But it feels drier than it did last time, but there's still a pretty big amount of water here, so. All right, guys, it has been another hour, so I'm out here checking my towel. I got a little bit of shade, so hopefully it didn't affect it, and it didn't. My towel is fully dry now. So now I'm gonna go check on the one I have in the garage and see how that one is. My towel outside is fully dry now. Now I'm here checking in on my towel in the garage. And this one is still very wet. As I'm touching it, I can feel all the water still. I'll pick it up so you guys can see. If I squeeze it, I can still squeeze water out of it. This one is still very wet. So, for my conclusion, I can conclude that the towel that was outside in the sun dried faster.